Please welcome Mr.Anil Bhandari, Chief Mentor at ARCON. So, Anil, thank you for joining us today for this show that we have, Cybersecurity, A Way of Life.
Wow.
Now, before we delve into cybersecurity and the other technical stuff, we do know that you've had a successful run of 20 years. You've been a successful entrepreneur. We'd like to understand you as a person first before we get into the other things, right?
So, thank you, Roshan, for inviting me. Pleasure to be here and happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely. So, tell us about your childhood. Where did you grow up? How were you as a child?
Well, not very far from here. I just grew up in Andheri West, and my wife keeps telling me that we've grown in Andheri West and probably die in Andheri West, which is not a very good thing to do. But yeah, born and brought up in Andheri West, studied just about there, Nazi Monji College. So yeah, just about everything there.
Okay. How were you as a child while growing up?
I wasn't a front bencher, wasn't the last bencher, so I would say mediocre.
Somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere in between. Yeah.
In the between.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little about your parents and your family.
So my dad used to work, but he was a professional at heart. So and he used to run a professional services company. My mom did all the hard work, brought me up. So she was a housewife, but
Moms
yeah. And they're both from Rajasthan, so they were new to Bombay 60 years back.
Right.
But I guess, yeah, that's what it is.
Right. So today you are what you are. Tell us the difference in how you were parented versus how you are parented.
We didn't have mobiles during those times, so I guess we had less of opinion, right? And kids today have a lot of opinions, so I guess maybe parenting us was slightly easier compared to parenting children today. So I don't know. I mean, we were brought up with a lot of course, ethics, and we were brought up with a lot of trying to say that you should have some desire in life, right? We all go through these journeys in life. You come from smaller locations. So parents have come from a smaller location, and then they come to a larger city. They have desires. They would want their child or their children to grow up, have desires, and make sure that they do well in life. So didn't have too much of complications in my childhood. I had a good time. Yeah, so I guess that's how I was brought up.
Yeah, interesting. Now, as a student, did you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or?
So in school, maybe not. I used to play a lot hockey. We don't know about hockey nowadays, but I used to play hockey. Captain of the hockey team. In college, maybe yes. I used to kind of think a lot about entrepreneurship during college times. But as any student would have it, I also wanted to be a pilot here. So I went to this Andheri, where it's in Vilepala actually. So Vilepala West, Pawan Hans, where you have this flying club. And I was very excited, and my wife, who used to be my girlfriend at that point in time, she wanted to pay for those training classes. And when we went up there, they said, you know what, you'll have to come here in the morning, wait for 2 hours, because we get a green signal from the airport, and if that doesn't work, then you'll have to be here. That kind of put me back, but otherwise I would have definitely gone and taken those flying lessons, and I don't know, maybe done something else.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, did entrepreneurship run in the family from before, or you're the first torchbearer?
Well, my grandfather used to work for the how should I say? Is that the governor in these old days, or the district governor or whatever? But he used to run a small business of ferrying people, which is a transport business. So in a way, maybe yes. But my father was a professional, and he ran a professional firm. So that's not really entrepreneurship, but yeah, maybe.
So how did you get into entrepreneurship?
Last year in college, was coming out of college, and I thought, what best to do? So I said, instead of working for somebody, let's try and work for ourselves, because I guess working for somebody and working for ourselves is ideally the same. It's just that the entrepreneurial zeal in you, or the stick in you. So I thought, let me go out to the market and try and see if I can do something before I start doing something or working somewhere. And that is the time that I actually went about. During our times, we didn't have the internet, so you didn't know what to do actually. Right? Today, kids can go on the internet and they could probably understand, okay, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? This is really happening. This is not happening. We didn't have all of those. So I thought, why don't I create something in ed tech which will help students coming out from college to be able to understand what to do, right? And that's something that I felt that I didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, our college was great, but unfortunately, we weren't kind of mentored that these are kind of opportunities available in the market, and that's something that I really missed at that point in time. So I thought to myself, why don't I kind of try and create a company which would help us to do something like this. Went to a couple of classes, created a project. It didn't even fly, right? For whatever reasons, maybe too early or whatever. And of course, you see a lot of ed tech companies today. Then I said, okay, doctors are not connected. And there is a company called Practo today, for example. And I had not a same, but a very similar idea. So I got my papers together. And I remember one of my friends, Ashish, introducing me to this guy who's, of course, this gentleman who's doing very well, Rashesh Shah, during those times. And I went up to his office. He had a very small office in Today Edelweiss, of course, that he runs this. He wouldn't even remember that. So he runs this pretty large. So I said, look, I have this idea. I've got the entire project report. And, we need to connect doctors, get together, create an exchange, data exchange. And he said, but how do you propose to do this? So I said, why? We'll get things together. We'll put it something on the... And that time it used to be .com, right? So I said, why don't we, put up something around .coms and do something? And they were investors in .com companies, right? So he said, okay, it's a brilliant idea. Somebody is going to do that, maybe today or tomorrow. But Anil, you're not a doctor. So how are you going to sustain it? And I tried to kind of debate with him, came back home. It didn't fly. My mistake. I should have actually tried to, take it to conclusion. But maybe somewhere those thoughts lingered that I'm not a doctor. How do I hold on to that profession or whatever. So thought about an idea, wanted to do, but landed up not doing those two ideas. And then of course I became a chartered accountant and cleared my chartered accountancy. And the good thing that I did was, when you're a chartered accountant, you always go to income tax office, right? So the best thing happened in life is I went to the income tax office, which is the Piramal Chambers in Bombay. And just getting to an income tax officer took me like 2 hours and $50, right? So I thought this is not what I want to do. With all due respects to, of course, all of that is not there nowadays, but, those were old times. And I said, this is what I don't want to do in life. So came back and I think... try to ask people around what's likely to come up, what's likely to happen. And very senior gentleman, not really old, but maybe 55-ish, he said, why don't you look at technology? This is what is going to drive the world in the next 10 years, and this is what is likely to come up. And I had this great desire. Every chartered accountant has this great desire of making a Big Four, right? So I don't know if you get the term Big Four, but these are the KPMGs and ENYs, and they've been around for 100 years. So it's not easy to, kind of do something overnight. But I'm saying literally every chartered accountant would have a dream to try and create a company like that. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I said, I want to do something like that, right? But how do you beat these guys who've been there for 100 years? By doing all the old stuff? Maybe not. So why don't I listen to this guy and think about technology? Because at that point in time, the differentiator between a Big Four and the so-called Indian firms was the technology. They understood technology. The Indian firms didn't understand technology. So I said, okay, let me try and put my foot down or put my foot forward in trying to understand tech. And that started our consulting practice and that started the entrepreneurship journey.
Okay. So in whatever you said right now, I noticed that not once have you mentioned that you considered job as an option or, getting on a job.
So I became a chartered accountant. My brother actually came and said that, look, you should do fine by joining one of the Big Fours. Right. And all your friends and all my friends from college, I think just about everybody who was a chartered accountant were more or less working for Arthur Andersen at that point in time. So he said all of them are working and they're making good money. I mean, Arthur Andersen at that point in time used to pay us more than 20 lakh rupees just as fresh chartered accountants, huge money. And everybody was having good time. So I told him that, look, I don't want to join one, I want to create one. So he said, cut the crap, go ahead and make some money. So I said, didn't make any sense because in India, what happens is you have your parents who feed you, right? So you don't have a problem with eating food at home. You don't have a problem about sleeping at home, right? So you've got all of those things in place. So I said, it doesn't matter if I don't do anything, because parents are going to feed me. I told my brother, you're going to feed me, so it's okay. Let me try and see what I can do for the next 1 or 2 years. And I think that was again one of the good decisions that I took. And then of course you're far better off than maybe a lot of your friends, not all of them, but a lot of your friends. Yeah.
Absolutely. What do your children aspire to be now?
So, well, I don't have kids, but I think me and my wife, we've put up a foundation together, and we believe, I think all kids should aspire, how should I put it? It would be wrong to say that everybody should be entrepreneur, but I think all of us should have an entrepreneurial kick in our stomachs. Whether you're working or whether you're doing something for yourself, doesn't matter. If you have that small entrepreneurial zeal, what is entrepreneurship? Being practical, right? Working with a lot of people, right? And having that neck of trying, an intuition that this might just work, right? And of course the hard work. And I guess both of them are required for whatever you do in life. So I think the short of the long is maybe that desire, that burning desire to be very, very successful, and having that entrepreneurship zeal in yourself. Yeah.
I think that's noble thought, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to benefit out of it.
I hope India is a fantastic country to be at this point in time, and I really hope kids do very well. Yeah.
They will definitely. With people like you at their support, they will definitely.